Hello everyone, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back to the channel, and here we are now with part 5 of the build of this Pocher Porsche 917K. So here we go. So now we're moving away from the engine and the space frame and everything, and we're moving into the interior, and we're starting on the instrument panel and the steering gear. And then we've got these side panels, I think these are the fuel tank covers. And we've got some framework going in there as well, and then going over the page, this is actually on to step 6 now. We're going to fit all this up to the instrument panel to make one assembly. So hopefully we'll get all this done in one video. Let's see. I'm sorry this week's is late. Today is Sunday. It's Sunday the 29th, is it? Yes, of December 2024. This video should have gone out last night, but because we're in this no man's land between Christmas and New Year, everybody forgets what day of the week it is, and I realised yesterday when I was making a Brooks Models video that it was actually Saturday, and I should have done this video yesterday or before yesterday. So looking in here, we got all the parts here. I've got all the parts here out on the bench. You can see some of them in front of you. Obviously some of the parts are pre-painted and bagged up and everything. Some of the parts, I mean, the steering wheel comes on the sprue, but even though it comes on the sprue, they've still painted in the nuts for us on the steering wheel, which is nice. I'll probably spray the actual steering wheel rim with a satin black or something. We shall see. So anyway, first things first, looking at this, we've got the instrument panel, which is here, which is F1, bagged up separately, and we've got some decals to go on. They're saying on here WD3, so WD3 means water decal, so, or decal if you're in America. Or indeed if you're in England, some people like to say decal, some people like to say decal. I like to say decal. Here we go. So this is the decal sheet, as you can see, and WD3 is that. It's not, it's a WD9, so I know that's wrong, or the instructions are wrong. So the first thing we need to do is get this off the paper. Now you will see a lot of people will come along and start cutting things with a knife. Don't ever use a knife, if you can avoid it, to cut decals. The reason being, when you actually cut with a knife, you actually raise an edge. Okay, it's like when you scribe something on plastic, you generally raise an edge on it. And it's the same with the paper. And what happens there, you've got this little tiny edge, and it makes the decal very difficult to slide off. So always use a good sharp pair of scissors. I've got scissors that I use solely for decals. So we're going to get this one off of here. Okay, so we're just going to cut this out roughly. These decals are all individual. They're individual little dials and lights and stuff. So we'll put the protective film back on the top, just like so, and then we'll pop these back in their bag to keep them nice and dry and safe from harm. We can put them back in the box then between the packaging, and that'll keep them flat, crease free, dry and safe and everything. We put them away in a minute. So we've got that there, so we've got our decal sheet there. Right, so that's our decals cut out. You can put those scissors to one side. So we'll grab our instrument panel, and as you can see on here, we have in there on the instrument panel, I don't know if you can make it out there, we have the positions marked out for all these decals to go. Now you can see on here the positions they're going in, and you can see on here the decals that we've got. Now you may choose to paint the lights in or whatever, but if you are going to use the decals, which I am, I would seriously suggest putting some gloss varnish down first. Decals generally like to go down onto a gloss varnish surface. You can put them on matte. I don't want to start that debate. That this video is not for that. But what I found in the past, in my experience, if you put decals down on bare plastic, they tend to just peel away over time. So what I'm going to do is put some gloss varnish in those positions so that the decals have something to bite into. So what I've got here is Modeller's World gloss varnish. You can use any gloss varnish. This is just convenient, and I've got an upturned Tamiya jar there. So all I'm going to do, grab a piece of masking tape, roughly cut the right size or rip to the right size or whatever, and I'm going to mask off that lower area just to make sure I don't get any gloss varnish on this lovely flocked finish they've given us. So what I'm going to do is come in here and just come in with the brush and just lay this on and then level it out just like so into the recess where it's supposed to go. Okay, just like that. Okay, I'm just going to push that around, and I'm going to repeat that for all of them and then let it dry. Right, so that's done and now drying. So you can see we've got the gloss on those gauges, and that'll make the decals go down much nicer. You'll see on here it looks like it's all worn and dirty and everything. Don't worry about that. I'm going to show you a little trick in a minute to clean that up and get it all looking nice. I do very much like the way they've painted these switches and everything, and got all the lights, the wording and everything on there. It's really, really nice. So it's looking like this interior is going to go together out the box. I'm not going to have to rework anything. That's good. So what I want to do now is, while that varnish is drying, I just want to sort of move on. So if we look at steps, I mean, we could carry on with this. We'll go back to that in a second if you like. But what we'll do is get this step 6 done, and then the glue will be ready and dry for when we want to turn it over and screw it on. So we've got this panel here is that side. So we'll do this panel here. Okay, so this is DCA 18, and this is what we're going to see inside the car. It looks quite nice. I think that the grey could be a little bit darker, but I'm going to leave it as it is because otherwise it's going to mean a hell of a lot of repainting. So I'm going to leave it as it is. I haven't looked yet to see if the inside of the body is actually painted. If it's not, we'll paint it. But all of the fiberglass on the inside, they gave it a coat of grey paint. So in real life, so that's how it was. So DC2, which is this one here, as you can see, we've got holes in one side and we've got nipples on the other. So that's basically going to fit onto there like that. And it's not going to be visible on the finished model. I'm quite surprised they've actually put it in there, because that's going to be inside the chassis. The side panel is going to go on here. It's going to be completely enclosed, I think. So I don't really know where they've gone to the bother of putting that in, but nice that they have. So what we'll do, we'll get some of the VMS Flexi 5K CA black thin. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best super glue on the planet. And I'm just going to dispense some here and get those decals out of the way. I don't want to get any glue on them, do I? So we'll put those right out the way over there. So I'm going to dispense some of this black thin onto a new Pringles lid. Okay. And as you can see, it's bubbling up on the top. So what we do then is unscrew. Oh, I can't do it. I can't unscrew it. No, it won't come undone. What I would normally do is unscrew it, squeeze the bottle and then tighten up, and then let the bottle go, and it'll pull the glue back down. But what we'll do, we'll just get that off. This bottle is nearly finished. It's you look on the date. That's the beauty of this glue. As we all know, super glues, they often go out of date, and they go off in a few months. So these aren't stored in a fridge. They're just stored in a dark drawer. And you can see this one was 20th of July 2022. And it's still thin, it's still absolutely brilliant. It works, it's awesome stuff. Very much worth buying. And if you're in the UK or anywhere in the world, you can buy from Brooks Models. You can see the name there, brooksmodels.com. Don't forget, you can use the code NMB10 to get 10% off any purchases between £15 and £50. And over £50, use the code NMB20 and you'll get 20% off. So well worth checking out. So we put some glue on there. We can drop this in. Now I do know a lot of people will be thinking, why haven't you scraped the paint away? Which I normally would, but I do know that the VMS black thin does actually penetrate paint, so it actually dissolves the paint. So that's glued in there. So we'll just put that to one side and let that go off. Okay, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Let's got this part here. So we'll just put some glue. I have actually test fitted these before I turn the camera on, so if you're thinking I'm being foolish, I'm not. It's just that I don't want to have you watch me do everything twice. There's no point in that, is there? Okay, so that's gone in there. Obviously, I'm not worried about being too tidy with this. I'm more worried about having enough glue in there to make sure it sticks, because as I said, it's not going to be visible on the finished model as far as I know. There we go. That's not correctly lined, is it? I don't think. There we go. Now it's gone in. So as you can see, that's gone in there. I mean, if you want to, if you can see these little bits of glue sticking out, we can just grab a cotton bud and just mop that up. But as I say, it's not really that important. So put that over there, let that dry. Okay, now for some reason, whoops, that's all just fallen apart over there. Back in a sec. Okay, so as you can see, I've got those held down with pegs now while the glue dries. So we're now waiting for varnish to dry and we're waiting for glue to dry. So we've got those to go on. I know that this one here is 14 and this one here is 21, although they do look, they appear to be identical. So 14, 21, I know that's all good. Right, so let's have a look at this here. So if we look at this assembly here, they're telling us we're going to put this together with some L screws. So I am going to grab a couple of L screws. These are going into plastic, so no tapping required. So we've got a couple of screws here. Now this bracket here is holding the steering column in place, and the actual end of the steering column is going to go into this gear. Okay, so we've got a hexagonal hole, we've got a hexagonal pin, and it's a very snug fit indeed. And we've also got, this has 6 teeth on it. I think it's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 6 teeth. And we have a flat on here, and we have a D-shaped hole in the steering wheel. So what we need to do is when we assemble this with the steering rack, we need to make sure, so that our steering remains central, we need to make sure that our steering wheel is like this, okay, in this position when the steering rack is central. So I'll take that off for now. Now because this is hexagonal and we have 6 teeth, unfortunately we're not going to be able to time this, because wherever we put it, if you look, if I go round to the next, wherever we put it, it's exactly the same. As you can see, we've always got that flat of that gear there. So we can't do anything about it. So what we're going to have to do is that it's going to go in that way like that. Alright, and this gear is going to press onto there. Now I'm going to put a drop of glue in there. Just to lock it in. I don't think it really needs it, but there we go. I'm just going to grab a cloth and wipe away the excess, and then we can push this onto there like so. In fact, what I'm going to do is grab a little hammer, and I'm going to put something down to protect the bench. I use this little cutting mat, and I'm just going to very lightly, tap this on. I'm not beating it to death, I'm just almost just using the weight of the hammer just to tap it in. There we go, that's gone on like that. It hasn't gone all the way home, you can see there's still a slight gap there. I mean, what I could do is turn it over and do it this way. But you've got to be careful of hitting it all too hard, because you'll mushroom the ends of everything. Okay, so what we're going to do now is put our steering rack in. Okay, so we're this way round. Our steering rack is going to go in facing down, and with it over this way, the long side needs to be over to there. So it's a right-hand drive car. So we need to get this flat on here. That needs to be facing downwards, and we need to get the steering rack in the center. Now, as you can see, it's impossible, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slots. So the center of the steering rack is the center of that tooth, and when the steering column is centered, you can't get it. So we have to just get it as close as we can. You're not going to get it perfect, which is very unfortunate. So that's going to go like that, and then this bracket here is going to go on like so. Okay, so we can just, while we hold it, we can just check. So we can see we've got that flat is facing down, so the steering wheel will be in the dead ahead position, but you can see the steering rack is slightly off center. If we put the steering rack dead on center, that's how it is. So it's very unfortunate the way it's worked out. What you could do is twist the column if you wanted to, I guess. You may snap it, but you have to be careful. But there we go. So that's as good as we're going to get it, I think. As you can see, that's, as I've tried to explain, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teeth. So there's the central tooth, and that's sitting in the central groove. And with the groove, the steering wheel's like that. So when we put it like that, you can see that central tooth is off to that side. So we can't get it any better, I don't think. Rather unfortunate, but never mind. Something for the design team to look at, I guess. They could just make a new mould at the cost of about £50,000, which I doubt very much they'll want to do. Okay, so we just get that screw onto there, get that into there. Whoops. Okay, so obviously it doesn't want to hold it firmly, so we need to make sure we've got the right way round. There we go, it's going that way round. And that's going to sit in there like that, and we're going to get it roughly central. Oh dear, my whole world is falling apart. There we go. So yeah, that's as good as we're going to get it. Take that off there. This is proving extremely difficult. It just wants to fall apart. See, it just does not want to go together. I'm just going to get these screws in off camera, guys, because it's proving very awkward. Okay, so pretty much ignore what I said about setting it up, because you can jump the teeth anyway. So there we go. Obviously when it goes together, these ends are going to hold it in position, but at the moment, as you can see, the steering rack can actually pivot forward, which allows that gear to turn. So there we go. So I'm just going to bring it back to the center and then turn the gear so that it's back on the right flat. Okay, so as the same with pretty much every car kit I've ever built with working steering, there's always something that's not quite right with it. They're never good. The Italeri Lancia Delta is a complete and utter joke. They've learnt with the 1/12 scale Stratos, the Italeri are making, and yeah, they've actually done away with this. So they've got the steering wheel turning, so you can turn the steering wheel, but there's no steering rack as such, so the steering wheel is not connected to the steering. It just makes sense because it never works. It never works properly, and it's something that you're never ever going to really play with anyway. I mean, you know, does it really matter that the steering wheel is connected? In my opinion, no. So anyway, that's that done. And then the rest of the assembly on this page, what we could do actually is go on and glue these into place, but I'm half tempted to actually leave these until we're ready to fit the chassis, because I'm not sure what sort of angle they need to be on, and it may be a little awkward to fit them once the chassis, once we got them on. I have actually tapped these threads out, M2.3 ready for fitting them to the main floor pan. So I think we'll leave those off for now until we actually come to the bit where we fit it to the floor, because I don't know about the distance they've got to be apart. So moving on, we can start to look, I think, at doing these decals. I'm sure that varnish should be dry enough by now. So yeah, let's get on and have a look at that. Alright, so I've got some warm water here, and we've got our decal sheet. Now you've got two choices here. You could cut this up into individual pieces, or you could just leave it all together like that. They are actually individual decals, they're not all in one piece. So what I'm going to do is just, this is how I do decals. A lot of people put them in and leave them to soak. What I'm going to do is put them in the water, okay, and just for about 5 to 10 seconds just let the paper absorb the water and put them to one side, and that's it. You notice I've got a cutting mat here. This is only because this is actually thick paper card, so it will absorb the water. So what we can do now is look at how we're actually going to get those decals onto here. Now normally with decals you would take the paper, put it in position and slide the decal over. The trouble is with doing that here, we can't get in there because it's recessed. We need to actually physically put them in. Now yesterday I did a review on these lovely new tweezers from God Hand, so I'm going to give these a go because I'll bet they're perfect for this, because they have a very, very nice edge to them. Now these are the SH version. They've got like a flat end on them, so I'm going to give these a go. I'm just going to give these a little prod. Yeah, and we can see they're ready to go because they're moving on the paper. So we'll start with one of these little ones to see how it goes. So what I'm going to do is pick the paper up, and if you remember I said about using scissors, this is why. I can just slide that decal off of there easily. Alright, so I can now take that off of there with these tweezers because they're so nice, and I'm going to put that decal into position in there. What I'm actually going to do is just grab a paintbrush, not two, just one. Grab a paintbrush, and I'm just going to put some water in there to help me float the decal into position. So you just use the end of the tweezers just to float that decal over and lay it in that recess and get it nice and square, just like that. And then with the end of a cotton bud, just push it down. Okay, so that's gone down lovely like that. So now we can do the same with the other smaller gauge. We can slide it off the paper, grab the edge, put a drop of water in there, and then just drop the decal into position. This always happens when I do decals on camera, it goes wrong. There we go. So there's that one in position. Once again, just push it down with a cotton bud just to absorb the moisture. Don't worry about dust and fluff getting on your nice flocked dashboard. Yes, I said flocked. Don't worry about that for now. So now what I'm going to do is put a drop of water in that main gauge, and then grab the paper, slide the decal off, and then just place it into position. And then how's it got to go? I can see, so the numbers need to be vertical. You can see now why I put the water on first. It allows me to float the decal. Just want to turn it a little bit more. There we go. I've got it, so if you look at it, you've got numbers on there, and the numbers need to be sort of upright. You're not really going to see much of it anyway once it's inside the car. I'm going to put a drop more water on here to make it easier to float. There we go. And if you notice, I'm not using a brush, I'm using the end of the tweezers to move the decal. If you try and use a brush, sometimes you just keep lifting it and moving it too much. Whereas if you use a sharp pointed tool like this, it works much better. So now we can just get our cotton bud, push it down, seat the decal down, and also soak up the additional moisture there. Okay, you can see they're down in there now nicely. And what I'm going to do now is use a decal setting solution, and I've got here, this is my micro set and sole. I'm just going to put some micro sole on the top. Okay, so I'm going to grab the brush. Alright, so this is my micro sole brush. Just get some micro sole on there, and I'm just going to brush that into there, brush it over the top, and that should help them settle down nicely and pull down. Just put a drop on them like so. You don't have to do this if you don't have any micro sole, don't worry about it. I'm just soaking up the excess there, that's all. Okay, but it helps them to go down really nice. And then just after you've put it on, you can push them, but don't be tempted after a few minutes to touch them because you'll damage the decal. So I'm just pushing those down like that, and as you can see, they've gone down beautifully. And the micro sole will help to pull them in. So I'm just going to put another application of micro sole on there, and then just leave them. What I'm going to do now is go on and fit those little lights and everything onto there, and then I'll come back when we're done. See you in a minute. Okay, about an hour later, you can see those decals have gone down beautifully. They have a bit of a sheen to them, as you can see, but I want to add a bit more. So I've got here Tamiya X22 clear. It's an acrylic clear varnish. I don't want to use anything lacquer based because it will probably destroy the decals. But what I'm going to do is just with a brush, it's just brush some into here and put it on quite thick, and then it will level out and it will form a nice gloss finish so it looks like it's a glass covered gauge. That's the effect we're after. Okay, so as I say, put it on quite thick and then it will level out. And also, as I say, I would not use a lacquer based clear. This is not specifically an acrylic, but I know that it's not hot. Use something like Tamiya LP9, then it's likely to destroy the decal, or at least wrinkle it up, and then it won't go back down. But I know that this stuff is kind. I'm guessing you could probably use the VMS clear as well. Just make sure you use a gloss. There we go, and then I'm going to put a drop in that one as well. Make sure it's pushed right out to the other edges, otherwise you end up with like a bald patch. End up looking like my head. And there's Dottie playing with her toys. There we go. As you can see there, it's not quite gone out to the edge there, so what I'm going to do is grab a drop more, just put it in there and push it out to the edge. And as you can see, it's not very flat and level, but it will level out as it dries back, and it will probably thin out as well. It'll probably lose some of its gloss, but it actually gives you the effect of having glass covered gauges. And then what we'll have to do is put this vertical, so what I'm going to do is grab a clothes, or a couple of clothes pegs probably, and just put them on like that. Oh, Mr. Unprepared. A couple of clothes pegs, put them on like that, and then it'll just stand up, and you can keep it perfectly horizontal, and that should level out then. If it doesn't, we'll just thin some down and put a thin coat over the top of it, and that'll level it out. There we go. I think that looks much better. So we're going to let that dry before we carry on. Once again, we're letting some dry. See you in a minute. Right, so we can see that's leveled out nicely and it's drying off, and now we've got a nice gloss finish to our gauges, so that's good. Right, while that's just finally drying, I'm looking at gluing these bits in in this here in step 6. Now what I've done, I've gone back to the box and got the main floor out. I may actually do a revisit on this interior. I know I said I probably wouldn't, but I don't like these ejector pin marks that I can see in the floor, so I may well sand them out. And I'm also I'm going to do some research. I think this grey may be a little light in colour, I don't know, but we've also got some marks in here that don't really, I mean, this is going to go that way up. We've got some marks here that I don't know if I want to take them out or not. In fact, it's not upside down. This is basically going to fit in here like this, and then it's going to screw in from underneath. Now these pieces here, got some oily marks on there. These pieces here are going to go in from underneath, like so. Okay, and then once it all goes together, they can't really be seen, because as you can see, once that's fitted, once this is fitted in here, you know, it's very difficult to do with it all not glued together. They can't really be seen, so you could in fact leave them out if you wanted to, I'm guessing, but you know, they're part of the kit, so we'll fit them. So what I'm going to do is, using the VMS Flexi 5K, I'm going to put some of this. You can see as well, the other good thing about this glue, quite often, I mean, that has been sat on this tub for probably 3 hours, 2.5 hours, and it's still usable. Now, as you know, a lot of the times with super glue, unless you put them in candle wax, it does tend to go off. Whereas with this stuff, it does stay usable for hours. So, I mean, the downside to VMS Flexi 5K glue, Flexi 5K CA glue, the downside to it is the fact that it takes a while to go off. The upside to it is the fact that it takes a while to go off, because you get plenty of time to play with it. Now, you know, a lot of the time when you're doing very fine PE, like on model ships and stuff, you may, you know, sometimes you put the PE in place and then bang, it's gone, it's set, that's it. You've got no time to move it around. But whereas with this stuff, it doesn't dry straight away. It's more like PVA, and you do get time to play with it. So so that is a good thing, but it's a bad thing if you want instant setting CA. They do the one called XT Thin, and that's pretty instant. But generally, by the general rule with CA glues, the thinner they are, the faster they set. So I'm going to put those like that and let those dry. And as I say, it's Flexi 5K, so it'll allow us to flex them about a bit and get them to line up. The other thing I'm going to do is all of these holes in here, okay, they're going to have screws and stuff going into them a lot of the time. So I'm going to go through the manual and find out where we're going to be putting screws, and where we need to do, looking at our threads, where we need threads and stuff. Obviously these here, they're through holes, they're not going to have threads then, because they're going to have screws going up. I've also noticed you've got these two blocks here for the model to sit on to take the weight off the suspension, and they're pre-threaded N6, so that's cool. So yeah, it's all looking good. I'm also considering getting rid of the ejector pin marks here as well. So we shall see. We shall see when we get there. So I'm going to go through the manual now and have a look at these threads and get those tapped out, and then I can come back and tell you which ones I've done. Okay, so we've got our threads. So if you are into thread cutting, then this is what you need to be doing, or you might want to do this. So there's 4 here, they're M screws, which are M2.3, so those 4 there. Then we've got 6 up here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're also 2.3. These 2 here are 2.3. These 2 here are 2.3, and we turn over and we've got these 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all 2.3 as well. So that's all I've done is tapped 2.3. I'm just looking here. I'm wondering what needs to go in that one. So I'm just going to have another look through the instructions and see if that one needs to be tapped as well. Hang on. Yes, this one is also 2.3. So I'm going to get my little pin vise with my M2.3 tap. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that the screws that come with the kit are a coarser version of an M2.3. So I think the standard pitch is 0.45, and it's like they're like halfway between a self tapper and a machine screw. So just tap that on the back, get the swarf out, put this to one side. Don't put it down on the swarf or you'll ruin your paint. And then we'll grab our little T-Hoo, the bench vacuum. These are available on Amazon. There we go. That's that all sorted. Take the tap out of the pin chuck. There we go. Job done. Right. How are these dials looking? Oh yeah, they're looking great. They're looking great. So so that's all good. So now we can probably move on with the assembly. So we've got our sheet here. So we can see here. And also, actually, before we do that, I want to check that these are going to fit before that glue goes off too solid. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hold this way up. This one's going in that side. Have I actually just broken that glue away? No, it still has adhesion there. It's still wet. So I'm holding this way up. And then what I'm going to do is fit this onto this floor. Whoops. I don't think you can see anything I'm doing here, can you? This is very awkward and not very interesting to watch. So that's going to go in there like that. Why is it so difficult to maneuver? I don't know what's going on here. Okay, that was what I had wrong. So I don't think you can see what I'm doing, but what I'm basically doing, if you can look on the end there, if you look down in that hole, you can see the bottoms of that black tube. As you can see, it's quite awkward. But I want to get it to line up so that I know it's in the right place. Because once that glue goes off, if they're not in the correct location, they're going to be quite difficult to fit. This is proving extremely difficult. So basically we've got this rod here, that black piece there, and I want to, maybe I could hold it with my finger and do it the right way up. So I'm holding my finger now. But basically you've got those 2 pins there, have to go in those 2 holes there, and these 2 here have to go in those 2 holes there, and then that one there goes around that piece there. So it's all quite awkward to do, but what I want to do is I just want to get this to line up with those holes. And it really doesn't want to play ball, which is really quite annoying. I guess what we could do is put some masking tape on there to stop it falling. Trying to see what I'm doing here. It's just really awkward. I'm kind of contemplating just leaving them out because they are a complete and utter pain. They're absolute utter pain. But, get something underneath here. Sorry guys, this is about as interesting as watching paint dry, isn't it? But I'm going to keep the camera going because I think this is a necessary function. Okay, so has it all gone in? Yes, is the answer to that. Yes, it's all gone together. So that can stay in there like that. Let the glue dry. We'll do the same on this side. Actually, I'm going to see if it fits before I break the tack of the glue. And it doesn't quite want to go. So I've just got to push that one over slightly so that it goes into that hole. Wow, it really doesn't want to go in. It's gone in now, that front one hasn't. Okay, this is, there we go. So that's all gone in now, so everything's all lined up. All the pins are in, all the holes are in, so let the glue dry like that. And that will be it. Oh dear, sorry about that guys, but I think it's a necessary evil to make sure they're lined up. If you get those bits glued in and they're not right, it's going to be the same with these. It's never going to go together. So see you in a minute. Right, so let's have a look at this instrument panel. So we've got this piece here, which is H10, and that's got to go into here, like so. So that's just going to sit in there, like that. Okay, and then we've got this piece here, H12, which is going to go in to that hole there. Just like so. So what I'm going to do is hold that in place. Put a drop of glue on the back. Just like so. Okay, so that's gone in there. And then this one here, it has 3 little tabs on it. So what I'm going to do is put 3 drops. Just going to put my finger on there so it doesn't come out. So a little drop of glue in there, a little drop of glue in there, and a little drop of glue in that recess at the top. And with a cotton bud, just going to mop up the edge there. And then this is basically going to pop in like that. We've got a little bit of super glue on there where it's touched, where it's gone in, so we're just going to mop that off. The cotton bud, something I learned years ago from Phil Flory. Mop up excess super glue with a cotton bud. Works every time. but don't do what I've seen some people do. They keep the same cotton bud from mopping up super glue, so you can imagine after a couple of times it just becomes a lump of super glue, and you're just rubbing a lump of super glue on super glue and wondering why it's not picking anything up. There we go. So there we are, that's that in. Lovely job. What I'm going to do here is get a tiny drop. In fact, I'm going to use IPA, isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to get a tiny drop on here. Okay, I'm going to rub it on the cloth. Just rub it on the cloth just to dry it out. And then I'm going to hold the panel in and just mop up that excess super glue because it left a little bit of a mark behind, so that mark's gone now. So that's that glued in. So guess what we're going to do now? We're going to let that dry. Okay, so now we can move on with the assembly. So we've got our instrument panel done, we've got that in, we've got that in. So yeah, all looking good. Right, so the first thing we need to do is fit this frame here. This is part DC7 and this is part of the space frame. So this is going to go up under here, and as you can see, we've got two screw holes, one there, and we're going to put screws in there, and it's going to go in with two L screws. So I don't want to put that down on its back. I'm going to grab my screwdriver there, and I know I'm going to want 4 of these. So there we go, there's 4. So we'll arm our screwdriver, load it should I say. There's our screw box. Okay, so turn this over, drop this into position on there, how it goes like that. And then I can put a screw into there. I really don't want to put that dashboard down on its back. And then another one into there, and that's that held firmly in. Okay, so that's that in. That's nice and tight. Then we've got the steering column to put in. So this is going to go through here. Now be very careful, because if you look at the instructions, it looks here like this steering column is going above that cross brace there. See this? We've got this cross brace here in the front of this here. It looks like there it's going above it, but when you look at the built picture, it's below it. So if you try and put it above, it all goes out on the right angle. So what we're going to do is put it through there. You can see if I put it above, you can see that this piece, let's come in this way, this piece won't sit down flush. If I put it below it, it sits much nicer. Okay, so I mean, what we can do is look a bit further into the instructions and see how they've got it, but I'm sure that it actually goes below, not above. Let's have a look at some more pictures. I bet there won't be one that shows it. There's bound to be one. Here we go. You see now here they've got it below. I'm sure it goes below. So there we go. So that's going to go into there and then slide through. Go on. It went in just now, didn't it? So why won't it go in now? There we go. Get it like that. This is absolutely crazy. It just went together. Go. So that's going to sit like that. Okay, and then we're going to should have armed the screwdriver first, shouldn't I? Loaded it. Then we're going to put a couple of screws in here. So we've got one going in there. I've just moved that panel, haven't I? Yes, I have. Oh, dear, 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 Nige. Oh, come on. This is the trouble with this glue not going off very quickly. There it goes, back in now. What I'll do once I've got this screwed in, I'll put some more super glue on the back of it. Instant drying super glue has its advantages in some situations. I did actually put some accelerator on it as well, so I'm surprised it didn't kick off. But even with accelerator, it still doesn't kick off like a lot of the cheaper super glues do. Get that screw into there. Just hold the instrument panel rather than that frame. So that's our steering column and steering rack firmly in place. There we go. So there we are, that's step 5 complete. Well, it's not, because I'm with the steering wheel. I'm not going to put the steering wheel on yet because I'm probably going to paint it. But that's how it's going to go on. And as you can see with it, it's pretty much centered, but it's not, it's not perfect. So we'll take it off. There we go. Right. So that's step 5 complete. Now, you know that this part here, we actually looked at, we've got those over on the floor pan. So the next thing now is to fit these parts onto here, which is another 2L screws, and then we've got more gluing to do. So what I'm going to do is look at my references as well, because there's something I don't understand, is why every part of the space frame on this kit is painted black, but these are silver. I just don't get it. So I can't see which way these are going to go in. Okay, they're going into there. Right, so they're metal to metal, and that's the wrong way round. No, it's not. They're metal to metal, and they're going like that. And then they've also got to locate in holes in the floor. So they are going to go like that in there. But as I say, before I do any gluing, I want to check my references, because I've got a feeling these tubes should be black. I don't think they would have bothered. We've also got ejector pin marks on there, and they've put them on the inside face. They could have put them here and then they'd be up against that wall and you wouldn't be able to see them. But they've actually put them on the inside face, which is very nice of them, thank you. Yeah, so that is basically going to sit in there like that. And then the instrument panel is going to sit... Oh, I can't do it this way around. That's going to sit like that, and that's going to sit in there on that frame. So they need to be glued in. But as I say, I'm going to see what colour they should be first. And as a minimum, I want to get rid of those ejector pin marks because they look horrible. So I'm going to call that a day for this one. I'm letting those dry with the super glue there. So yeah, the next thing to do would be to fit those onto the dashboard and then glue these in. But I'm not doing that because the glue is drying on those inner parts while it's on the floor, and I'm not doing this because I want to go and check and I want to fill those ejector pin marks in. So I will see you all next week for part 6. This has been part 5. So I think we're going to be going out of sync now as well, guys, because we've actually, once we've done this, we've completed part 6. So part 6, video part 6, we'll be working on section 7. So there we go. So I'll see you in the meantime. I'm going to get these ejector pin marks dealt with, and I'll see what I'm going to do about that floor, if I'm going to do anything about it at all. So I'll see you back for that, or there may be a part 6 revisited in the meantime. Let's see. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.